you drive out of Las Vegas toward California, you'll likely come across a small sign that says Gene, a place that most people just pass through, only catching a glimpse of a giant gas station on one side of the road and a silent hotel on the other. That hotel used to be called Terrible's, but now that name sounds like a prophecy. It used to be the last stop before leaving Nevada, a place where travelers could play a few hands, have a cheap dinner, and then spend the night amidst the dazzling desert lights. But the pandemic extinguished everything. The door closed, the lights went out, and from that moment on, time began to gnaw away at each wall, each pane of glass. Terrible should have been destroyed. An investor once promised to flatten this place to build a multi-billion-dollar industrial park. But as the years passed, the plan vanished like a hot wind on the highway. And the building still stands there, tall, silent, like an undying witness. Why does an abandoned casino still exist in the middle of the desert, when everything around it has changed? Is Vegas truly moving forward? Or is it just stuck in its own glorious past? In today's video, we'll explore the mystery of Terrible's, what Vegas once called the final stop of dreams. In the middle of the Nevada desert, there's a small town called Gene, a place you might miss entirely if you blinked on the highway. In the 1990s, this place was the last stop before reaching Las Vegas, where travelers would stop for gas, eat cheap buffets, play a few slot machines, and spend the night before entering the dazzling lights of the north. Terrible's, the largest building in the area, was once the pride and only landmark of this town. That hotel, when it first opened in the late 1980s, was called the Gold Strike Hotel and Casino, promoted as the soft gateway to Las Vegas. This place isn't glamorous or luxurious, but it's warm and familiar. Rooms for just a few dozen dollars, a $4.99 buffet, a vast parking lot, and the friendly atmosphere of long-distance travelers. It exists as a bridge between two worlds, the dazzling opulence of Vegas and the stark reality of the Mojave Desert. Back then, roadside casino models like Gold Strike were doing quite well. When costs in Las Vegas were still high and the flow of tourist traffic remained steady, Gene was a place everyone visited. The driver stopped to get gas, middle-class families ate dinner at the buffet, and tourists tried their luck on a few slot machines before continuing their journey. The country music, the clinking of coins, and the smell of barbecue blended into the familiar sound of a classic American diner. However, as times changed, that path also gradually became empty. In the early 2000s, new resorts sprang up near the border, such as Prim Valley Resorts, offering cheap deals and promotions that made Vegas more accessible than ever. The stream of people who once frequented Gene's now just pass by without looking back, as if they're trying to escape the memories of a time that was once happy, but is now outdated. Gene gradually lost his reason for existing. The slot machines fell silent, the buffet closed, and the guest rooms were left empty. Terrible's, formerly known as Gold Strike, still stands there amidst the sand and wind, silently watching the vehicles whiz by on Interstate 15. The only sound of life left is the sound of wheels rolling over the asphalt surface, and the rest is an empty void as desolate as this place is slowly sinking into the grey area of memory. The decay of this place even attracted Hollywood's attention at one point. A few years ago, a film studio requested permission to film the post-apocalyptic movie The Battle of Absolute Dominion for Netflix right here. They didn't need to create a scene of devastation because everything was already there at Gene. A place once filled with lights and laughter has now become a natural film set for the apocalypse. And then, despite a series of redevelopment plans being announced, from converting it into a warehouse to a logistics center, Terrible's remained standing, waiting for a glorious future that never arrived. The longer you leave it, the more it rots. The upper floors were dark and empty. The back of the building was scorched, and debris covered the courtyard as the desert wind picked up. Inside, the musty smell and dust covered everything like a layer of ash from memories. Gene still exists, but it's lost on the map of Nevada. It wasn't big enough to be called a town, not close enough to be considered Las Vegas, and not lively enough to sustain itself. For decades, the local economy here has thrived on the wheels that stop. People who fill up with gas, grab a quick bite, try their luck, and then leave. But as the world outside changed, that roadside casino model became a relic, a symbol stuck between the past and the present. Today, as you stand on the highway and look down at the town of Gien, you'll feel an indescribable sensation, a mix of regret and doubt. Because this place is not just a dead town, it's a mirror reflecting an America that is losing its stopping points, its moments of quiet, and even the dreams that were once so real on its journey to rediscover itself. In early 2022, while the Terribles Hotel remained dormant like a concrete monolith lost in the Nevada desert, a developer from Reno decided to put a $44.7 million bet on the table. This deal includes the entire 140-acre-plus property, encompassing the abandoned hotel tower, sandy parking lots, and adjacent land that once belonged to the Gold Strike Hotel and Casino, a former icon of the gateway to Las Vegas. But unlike the filmmakers who saw Gien as a desolate backdrop for a post-apocalyptic film, this investor wasn't drawn to the memories or stories of old Vegas. He came here with a different vision: to demolish the entire old structure and build the South Vegas Industrial Center, a 1.9 million square foot logistics and distribution center expected to become a new link in America's fastest growing logistics chain. Gien's location, about 25 miles, 40 kilometers southwest of the Las Vegas Strip, situated along Interstate 15, has long been considered a sweet spot by industry experts. Though small and without a permanent population, Gien sits directly on the strategic transportation axis connecting Las Vegas and Los Angeles, the busiest transportation corridor in the West. According to the plan, trucks departing from the ports of Los Angeles or Long Beach can deliver to Gien and return on the same day. This model is both fuel efficient and avoids the high land costs and traffic congestion in the Las Vegas metropolitan area. At that moment, this move seemed perfect. The Southern Nevada logistics market experienced hot growth in 2022, with a vacancy rate of only 2%, the lowest in many years. Investors are flocking to the region like players hunting for opportunities in the post-pandemic boom. Gien, with its vast land and low costs, is considered a potential asset in Nevada's new economic landscape. But less than 2 years later, that fever cooled down abruptly. By the end of 2024, the vacancy rate soared to 11.5%, the highest level in over 10 years. A clear sign that the storm of oversupply has arrived. A series of logistics projects have fallen into the situation of being built but not rented. Rising interest rates are causing a logjam in capital flows, making banks more cautious and causing businesses that were once eager to expand to become cautious and wait. Fluctuating import prices and escalating trade tensions have made many companies hesitant to sign new contracts. The market is taking a breather, leaving unfinished projects stranded in the desert. Gien is one of them. The South Vegas Industrial Center project has been indefinitely suspended, while Terribles, the hotel that was once the town's pride, remains silent, a ghostly reminder of a broken dream. With each passing month, it decays a little more. The upper floors were pitch black, the back of the building was scorched, trash was blown away by the desert wind, and inside, black mold covered the walls because rainwater leaked through the roof. Local people call it by a code. Name: the Dead Hotel. Today, Terrible's massive parking lot is only a stopover for long-haul truck drivers. They turn off their engines a few hours before continuing their cross-state journeys. High above, the paratroopers use this very building as a landmark for their landings. But, beside that, no one else is alive there. Actually, Gien was never really a town in the true sense. Its only stable population is about 240 inmates at the Gien Conservation Camp, a low-security correctional facility for women managed by the Nevada Department of Corrections. Additionally, there are no residential areas, no schools, no supermarkets, just a technical stop on the highway where people and dreams only pass through, then move on. Is this $44 million bet a long-term vision for a future logistics chain, or just another industrial dream caught between the cycles of modern America's decline? Amidst the vast desert of Nevada, there is a place where time seems to have forgotten to keep turning. On Interstate 15, where thousands of vehicles were still bumper to bumper heading toward the glittering Las Vegas, a massive concrete block stood silent, as cold as a beach shipwreck. They were once going to demolish it. But year after year, the desert wind still blows through the same old building, as if the entire universe is waiting for someone brave enough to press the continue button. After the financial shock, the new owner of the land froze the entire project. The bulldozers, cranes, and construction site containers that were once bustling are now covered in dust. The safety fence is tattered, and the warning sign is faded. The construction site stood still, while the hotel remained untouched, a testament to being halfway done, neither alive nor dead, just existing. Inside, the walls are black with mold. Rainwater leaks from the roof. The concrete floor is peeling, and every time there's a strong wind, debris flies every place. The locals are used to that image. They call it coldly, but accurately, the dead hotel. No one wants to get close. Police rarely patrol the area due to the risk of collapse, hazardous waste, and desert snakes hiding in the rubble. For long-haul truck drivers, the empty parking lot in front of the hotel becomes a temporary resting place between journeys. They parked, turned off the engine, and slept in the cabin as the sun set behind the barren mountains. And in the sky above, the paratroopers use the building as a landmark when landing in the southern desert region. Jean today has no residential areas, no shopping centers, no markets or schools, only wheels still turning on the highway, and a structure that has stopped turning in its own destiny. That scene was like a metaphor for Jean himself, where the cycle of development had stopped, leaving only the echoes of the past. Everything here is at a standstill. The logistics project has stopped, the hotel hasn't been demolished, and the community is no longer present. All that remains is desert and silence, as if the modern world has pressed the pause button on a land that was once vibrant. Perhaps in an era where everything is in constant motion, Jean became a testament to the opposite, that not every place is saved by development, and not every abandoned building deserves to be forgotten. Sometimes, their prolonged silence raises even bigger questions about how America is redefining the value of growth and memory. From above, Jean looked like a small town slumbering in the Nevada desert. But as you get closer, the truth sends a chill down your spine. Jean was never a real town. No residential areas, no schools, no markets, no local government. There were only abandoned buildings, a few gas stations, and a women's correctional camp called Jean Conservation Camp, which housed approximately 240 inmates. Here, residents are not people who were born or chose to live here. They were only temporary residents, in the literal sense. Prisoners, truck drivers spending the night, and sometimes temporary workers from roadside warehouses. People come and go. No one truly lives. Jean exists not for the community, but for Interstate 15, the highway connecting Los Angeles and Las Vegas. It's like a technical station on the map of the United States. It exists to serve the flow of traffic, not for someone to stop and build a future. For many years, the economy here was built on fleeting activities. The gas stations, small restaurants, and casinos are the town's temporary lungs. But when Terrible's hotel and casino, Jean's only heart, went dark, that entire fragile ecosystem collapsed with it. With no one stopping, revenue disappeared, and for lease signs became the only thing updated regularly. Ironically, it was that very desolation that made Jean the perfect location for Hollywood film studios. Many film crews have come here to shoot post-apocalyptic scenes or scenes of a world after destruction. Some directors even admit that there's no need to build a set, because the ruined city is already there. From a roadside stop, Gene inadvertently became the set of decay, where fiction and reality blended seamlessly. With no real local government, Gene exists in an administrative vacuum, located between Las Vegas and the Mojave Desert. Everything here feels like it's suspended between two worlds, not urban enough to be invested in, not populated enough to be preserved. Even the roadside signs don't say much, just a brief name, Gene Exit 12. No one explained who Gene was, where he came from, or where he went. Under the scorching sun, the abandoned casino became a physical symbol of an intangible concept, a town that was never truly born. It exists thanks to human habits, then is forgotten due to their own changes. Gene didn't collapse because of the crisis, but because it was never truly built to last. Can a place without residents be called a town? And if no one remembers its memories, who will tell the history of this land that never existed? Initially, Gene was considered the golden point of the Western logistics chain. Its location along I-15, just 25 miles from Las Vegas, makes this property an ideal piece of the transportation network connecting Los Angeles and Nevada. In 2022, the vacancy rate in the logistics industry was only about 2%, a record low. Investors flocked in as if the gold rush were returning. But then, just 3 years later, by 2025, that rate skyrocketed to 11.5%, the highest level in over a decade. The post-pandemic boom quickly gave way to a slowdown, a familiar lag in the US economy, a pre-boom followed by a contraction as confidence cooled. Experts point to many causes. High capital costs make borrowing for construction and expansion risky. Import fluctuations, trade wars, and unstable supply chains have caused businesses to postpone investments and temporarily sit out rather than risk further. The global supply chain, once the pride of the 21st century, is now a tangled mess after the pandemic and political shocks. Result: projects that were launched with great fanfare in the early 2020s are now dormant, and Terribles is one of the few witnesses to that era. The opposition in Jean today is truly bitter. Across the street, the giant Chevron station still shines brightly 24/7, with a constant stream of customers filling up with gas, buying coffee, and continuing their hurried journeys. Across the street, the giant hotel building was shrouded in darkness, windows broken, signs askew, and the parking lot covered in dust. The two worlds are only a few dozen meters apart, but they represent the distance between immediate consumption and long-term investment, between what America still knows how to operate and what America has forgotten how to maintain. Gene's story is not just about a stalled project. It's a metaphor for the entire economy. A country that once led the world in innovation and infrastructure is now stuck between ambition and hesitation. Go fast, but don't get far. That was the overwhelming feeling when looking at that building, and perhaps also the feeling of millions of older Americans as they observed the country they once trusted. They saw in Gene the memory of hard work, but also the helplessness when the machine stopped and no one would restart it. In fact, many planning organizations have warned that America is holding its own future hostage in thousands of on-hold projects across the states, from industrial parks to high-speed rail. Some places have started to find a way out. General Electric Infrastructure and Prologis are promoting a sustainable redevelopment model that combines old infrastructure with clean energy and green distribution centers. An approach seen as a revitalizing elixir for dead sites like Gene. But until someone actually takes action, Terribles will still stand there. A concrete reminder that America's biggest problem isn't collapse, it's the delay of rebirth. How many other, a few, paused projects are holding back America's future? And when everything is hanging in the balance, who still has the patience to believe that this wheel will turn again? In the vast desert between Las Vegas and the California border, where only wind and dust are your companions, An idea is taking shape that could determine the fate of this forgotten land. A new airport. They call it the Southern Nevada Supplemental Airport, SNSA, a project proposed as Las Vegas's second airport, aimed at relieving McCarran, now Harry Reid International, which is reaching capacity after the tourism recovery phase. According to the plan, this new airport will be built in the area between Jean and Primm, only about a 30-minute drive from Las Vegas. If successful, it could transform Jean, a town that never truly existed, into the gateway for goods and passengers in southern Nevada. This is not just an aviation project, but also an economic lifeline that could pull Jean back from the brink of extinction. The SNSA project promises to bring about the expansion of I-15, along with electricity, water, and supporting logistics infrastructure. When infrastructure is upgraded, logistics businesses, which had left due to the recession, may return. The vacant lots, including the former site of Terrible's Hotel and Casino, could be redeveloped into shopping centers, warehouses, or modern rest stops. A town that was once a temporary stop could now become a new link in Nevada's growth map. However, like many other ambitious plans in the American West, the SNSA remained only on paper. The project is in the preliminary planning stage, dependent on federal funding and political approvals, two factors known for being slow and unpredictable. Although the US Department of Transportation identified the Jean Primm area as a viable location from the mid-2010s, specific funding and timelines remain uncertain. While waiting, the Terrible's building still stood there, half ruined, half waiting. The upper floors are covered in black mold, the roof is leaking, and the railings are rusty. Clark County officials have repeatedly warned about the risk of collapse and requested reinforcement, debris removal, and the installation of safety fences. Some Nevada cultural preservation groups have also proposed turning the site into a retro Nevada stop, a nostalgic travel destination reminiscent of the 1980s, featuring neon signs, classic cars, and a photo gallery of old Vegas. If you can't tear it down, at least turn the ruins into a legacy. Jean is no longer a ghost town in the traditional sense today, but rather a land waiting to be redefined. Amidst the barren desert, that small hope still remained, that if the new airport became a reality, Jean could be reborn, a cargo hub, a stopover, or at least a living memory of changing Nevada. Jean may only be a small dot on the map of the United States, but for those who have passed through, it remains a place that evokes something profound: waiting. 30 years ago, people stopped here to rest before entering Las Vegas. Today, people are stopping to wonder if this place still has a reason to exist. Amidst the barren desert, the Terrible's building still stands silent like a marker of time, a symbol of the pause between two eras, the glittering Vegas and the Nevada awaiting rebirth. The new airport can bring opportunities, but opportunities only become hope if people dare to act. Perhaps Jean's revival doesn't lie in concrete or billion-dollar projects, but begins with the will to restore old values with new thinking, where development doesn't erase the past, but learns to dialogue with it. Will the new airport be enough to revive a place that has never truly lived? And if the opportunity takes off, what will we rebuild first? The infrastructure or trust? If you believe there are still areas in America worthy of revival, please like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring forgotten stories with me amidst the light and shadow of the American dream. This video is made for informational and analytical purposes only and is not intended to assign blame, attack, or represent any organization, business, or individual. All data, figures, and citations in the video are compiled from public, reliable sources at the time of production and are subject to change over time. The images or brand names appearing are solely for illustrative purposes and are not commercial or promotional in nature. All content is presented with objectivity, respect, and thought-provoking reflection, rather than judgment. Viewers are encouraged to verify information, share their own perspectives, and participate in civilized discussions. Because the common goal is to better understand a changing America, not to blame anyone.